All right, guys, welcome to the Buff Show. Today we have a market update covering October's numbers coming your way. And today is November 18th. So happy Thanksgiving.
Well, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We're not even close to Thanksgiving yet.
We are. It's next week.
Yeah, next week.
When this
crap.
Next Thursday.
Remember, we're always reviewing the month past. So I'm thinking about October right now. We're in November.
Ben forgot Halloween already came and went. You don't have your Christmas tree set up?
No, we got to cut it down over Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I know, yeah.
Do you have your Christmas tree set up?
Oh, yeah. She set it up
Really?
like November 3rd.
That's a
Her
question
idea.
for everybody. When do you set up your Christmas tree?
And do you do a real or fake one?
Yeah, that's you're a fake.
Yeah, we're fake.
For sure fake.
Yeah, you are.
She likes to set it up, but her thought is she does a Thanksgiving Christmas tree, or she doesn't decorate it. It just has the tree up with the lights on it.
I'm going to fight your wife. I'm going to call her right now.
That's what she does.
If she leave it up for St. Patrick's Day.
So she told me, she's like, I'm just going to put the tree up. I'm like, all right.
No lights.
Well, no, lights are just on the tree.
Oh.
And so.
But you don't put any of the decorations.
Don't put any of the decorations on it.
Until
and then she put the tree up, and she put up some more Christmas decorations. Then she decorated the whole entry table with Christmas stuff. Then she put the garland across the railing.
Dude, she's like a drug
And I was
dealer.
just
She started you slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got, you know what? Go for it. I don't care.
So we used to do the fake trees, and then Carly's family is huge on the real trees, going up and chopping them down. It's actually pretty fun. And then you get the real smell. But
the real pine needles all over the floor.
Yeah, the real pine needles, like when you take it out, like it
I'd be
just
worried
starts.
about my dogs, dude.
Yeah.
Moab would eat them and die,
Maybe.
which might be okay.
Oh, so Thanksgiving is when you do yours?
Yep.
That weekend? Nice. Us too. Well, happy Thanksgiving, and 'tis the season. It's crazy. It's already here. All right, let's jump into it. So October's numbers, we're going to go over kind of what we've been seeing. I'll start out with new listings. So this is comparing October of last year, 2024, to this year. And new listings were up 3.6%. This year we had 5,184 new listings and this is for the whole state for the month of October, which, I mean, we're down from like 2022 numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Not to get confused with listings available. These are new listings coming to the market.
Yeah.
Correct.
yeah.
So next one is pending sales. So a count of the properties on which offers have been accepted in a given month, which is October. So compared to last year in October, we have a drop of 8.7%. So we're sitting right now at about 3,186 statewide.
That's a
pending
pretty
sales.
big drop.
It's roughly 300 sales. Yeah. 300 pending contracts for just the month of October compared to last year.
Which
that
is, this is weird. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go to this next one. So our pending sales from this year, you were comparing to last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're down.
Correct.
Okay, but you go to this year, or you go to the next section, it's closed sales. So a count of the actual sales that closed in a given month. So this year in October, we are down 1.1%
from
last year. Okay, never mind.
from last year, yeah.
So that is super. Okay,
Of
never
course,
mind. So we're,
yeah.
But
so we're
Kate's
close there.
catching on. We're getting there.
But next month, like our closed sales are going to be down, I'll bet 8% ish, right? Because we saw that drop.
Yeah.
So I think that's just going to carry on over. That's interesting that we're seeing lower closed sales. And I feel like rates, they've been bouncing around, but they're still like mid
Pretty
sixes.
consistent.
Yeah, we haven't had a
6
very
1/4.
dramatic-
Everybody on social media is like, the Fed dropped the rate, and then like mortgage interest rates haven't done a whole lot.
Well, we know that the Fed rate doesn't directly correlate with the
Right.
mortgage interest rate. So
Yeah.
if Feds do drop rates, like it helps the chances of it to affect mortgage rates, but it's not a direct correlation. Yeah.
Yeah. Days on market until sell. So this is the average number of days between when a property is listed and when an offer is accepted in a given month. And we are up 17.5%. That's a big
Being
jump.
up is bad on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on who you are.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
If you're
If you're
a
the
buyer,
buyer, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a seller guy.
Yeah. I'm actually more of a buyer's agent lately.
So 67 days on market is your average days on market until a sell. That's for the month of October. And keep in mind, it's just going to keep climbing because next month is December and January is normally the peak of when it's the highest. And it seems like we'll keep jumping probably about 10 or so days on market until we get into January. So I'll bet January we're about
80
70,
days.
80.
Yeah, 80 days on market, which, I mean, that's 2
You're
to 3 months.
4 months went from list point to close.
Yeah.
I would say you're maybe 4
Well,
months.
and explain that. Why is that, Cade?
So if you look at right now in October, you're 67 days on market. That means you're typically your day one is listed at, you're going to contract at 67, and a typical contract is 30 days.
Yeah,
roughly.
30 to 45,
Yeah.
depending.
And so you're going to be 3 months plus from the time you list your home to the time you actually close.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to,
So
sell
if
now, like, it's
somebody's
too late.
wanting to sell and they list in December, when would they expect to get closed up?
February probably.
Or March.
And
Or
end
March.
of February, yeah.
February,
That's
March.
crazy.
And obviously, like, that's not always the case. It can be much quicker, it can be much slower, but just on an average point. And obviously, you dive into like price points and all that stuff changes.
Well, and markets and stuff. Yeah.
But this is just an average, big overview.
Yeah. If you guys have a property you're wondering about, we can pull comps for that property type area and get you those average days on market, because that will give you a really good idea on how that inventory is moving
absolutely.
in that market. But that's a big one that people often have a lot of questions about. So
Median sales price. Okay, point at which half of the sale, basically the median, you take all the sales and you line them up in order, and you take the end one and the highest and lowest, and you start knocking them off the list until you get to the middle. That's how the median's calculated. So the median for October 2025 is $525,000. In October 2024, $510,000. So we increased the median sales price by about $15,000 or 3%, 2.9%. So pretty average. Our prices are still continuing to climb. That old real estate, we're not having quite as drastic swings, but that 10-year slice of any real estate market, you're seeing that slow, steady climb, which 2%'s a pretty average appreciation.
Yeah.
So
how are we looking? Like, it looks like the peak was 2022 when we were like 550 maybe,
Yeah,
or just under 550,
550, just under.
yeah, so we're
540. So we're not super far off from like the peak.
the highest when everything was going nuts.
And that was the highest, and this is what kind of confuses me. I'll let Cade talk about it.
The average.
On your average, yeah.
Yeah, so the average sales price for all closed sales is not accounting for seller concessions in a given month. So we're still talking about October. October 2025, we are up 7.2% from 677,000 to 726,000. So you have a much bigger jump there on your average. And I was going to ask you guys.
No, don't turn the question.
No, I want to though.
I've got an opinion on it.
What's
Why
your
is it
more?
why is it jumped on the average higher and not so much the median?
Well,
My question is more-
the peak of the average.
The average is high.
It's way high.
the very peak.
The
You're
peak
above-
of 2022 was
Yeah.
it was like 650. We're 726.
So
We're
my-
like 75 grand.
My question:
higher.
what do you think is more accurate? Do you think you're somewhere in between the two?
I think median.
I think accurate isn't. I think median and average people think they coincide. Average is dealing with more of the values of the property. What is average values? Median is the values plus the number of properties as well. I know they're both calculated similar, but for an average Joe Blow Schmo, right, the number has more weight for us. If I'm a Joe Blow Schmo, I'm not sure. But the number of properties has more weight for us because it's what we see more often, right? Now, when you start diluting that median with more numbers, we're going to see more of that average 500, 550 sales range. But you can skew it a lot faster on an average sales price with a higher listing
Sure.
amount.
yeah.
So I think they calculating we're trying to find the same thing, but we're putting more weight with the median on the number of sales And on average sales price, the value changes it more. So
Yeah.
when you have a $20 million sell, it can skew.
It skews it.
It can skew 40, $500,000
what
sales.
if you were to say what value or what metric
I
tells a better story for what Utah's experiencing on their sales price?
Right.
I think they
a
both,
house that you own.
I think they tell a different story. Think of it this way: on a median sales price, a $200,000 sell and a $20 million sell cancel each other out one for one, right? Because we start at the ends and go to the middle.
Yeah.
On an average, a $20 million sell
Count.
cancels out 35 or 40,
Right.
Sure,
cells.
but I also have a counter to that too, is that you're gonna have such a drastic majority of your sales are gonna be in that $500,000, $300,000, $400,000 range, and so that's gonna also help.
So the question, that's what I'm saying. That which one's more accurate? I don't think it's one's more accurate. I think they're different numbers, and that's why they've given us different numbers. So the majority of homes, if we're going one for one, the median's more average, right? But if you're going, okay, how much money is spent in Utah,
See,
the average is
I think you might be. I think you might be a
accurate.
little bit different there. I think if median, I think is going to be a little below, because you're going to have far less homes that are way high compared to homes that are lower, right? So like you're going to have this spread, right? You're going to have this spread of homes. You're going to
The
have
bulk of it is down low.
the bulk of it's going to be
Yeah.
the lower third. You're going to have some that are really cheap. But you're going to have very few that are over that 75 percentile.
So are you saying the average is more accurate or the median is?
I'm saying I'm saying the average is going to be a little bit on the lower end, and I don't know about the average if it's going to be more accurate. I'm thinking it's somewhere in between.
I
median.
would say your median is going to be more realistic to numbers. Averages can skew easier.
I'm saying that I'm thinking that median is going to show a number that's less than what the real value of what the average home is going to be.
See, and I still disagree with that.
So I think if you were to say, for most people listening on the podcast, if you have a house that's under 2 million, the median sales price is a better storyteller of what values have done in the state of Utah. Would you guys agree with that? Like, for their property value in specific.
Yes.
I think what you're going to have to do, honestly,
if we were to look at our personal primary homes and say which tells the story better, because if we were to look at the average sales price, we'd say,
I would say
oh,
the average
shoot.
does on mine.
Really?
Yes. Think about that one that we just did a deal on my prior on our old townhome. We sold that in 2022. Okay. No, was it 2022? No, 2024. We sold that in 2024. And we sold that for $460. And then your clients just bought it for $480,000 a year later. So that's only a 1 year difference. And how much of a price increase is that? You're $20,000 of a price increase.
Yeah, but there's how many people have bought a house in 2021 or 2022 that are still underwater?
I'm not saying
right?
that. I don't think I'm not. I just think this is a whole other podcast on average and median, and it's still, we can break this down as much as we want on what's the most accurate and what tells the best story, but none of it, all of it may apply to some and none of it may apply to others.
Here's the thing. I think we're still looking at it wrong. Average sale price and medium sales price don't tell a better story. They tell different stories. They're two different. If they weren't, then we wouldn't have these demographics, right? Where they wouldn't give us an average and a median, because they're calculated different for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
So I think the question is an unfair question, as which one tells a better story. Well, which one tells the story you need it to tell is what it is. Average gives you a money swinging.
Like how much money is moving?
Yeah,
through the market.
The money dictates heavier in the market, and
I like that.
median is
the transactional amount.
more.
Or
Yes,
like how many transactions have moved?
Correct.
Yeah.
The transactions have more weight on the data than the actual money
Yeah,
does.
because
I agree with that.
the median just goes off of transactions, and then whatever one's in the middle, that's your median
That's your
price.
median.
Average is like, what's the volume of money that's moving through the economy?
But let me ask you this then. if you were to say, if somebody were to come to you and say, hey, how much, just a random guess, how much do you think my home has appreciated from 2025 to, or from 2020 to 2025? What number, or even to say 24 to 25, what numbers?
First thing I would do is I'd find out
without pulling comps and doing
Without pulling comps, I'd
CMA
say
and all that stuff, but
where you're, get a very rough idea of the price range.
okay.
And I would say, okay, if you were near that median, I would give you the median. And I'd say, look, this is a median household income because it hits them more often. If they are at one end or opposite end of the spectrum, of the higher end of the spectrum, I'd say if you look at the averages, this one might be a little better story for you because this pertains more to your type of home. But at the end of the day, you don't, when someone asks what their appreciation, you don't ever look at average.
Can't. I mean,
you don't look at average.
You really
median.
can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
So
it's kind of a
that's a good
unfair
one.
question.
That was
unfair
intense,
question.
and we're gonna go over some other stats that I think will lay more into like why the average has been so much higher. But it's just, and that's where data's important and how easy it is to get skewed, because you could look at this and be like, oh man, I bought my house, like even right here last October, I bought my house and it looks like it's gone up 7%.
Why don't I have a 7% appreciation?
Yeah, which is
in 1 year?
7% is huge. Like
Right.
that's saying you bought your house for $677 last year, and now you could sell it for $730.
And for some people, that really might be the case, but the majority of it is probably not. I feel like you're probably going to be far less than that.
Yeah,
Because large sales skew on the average harder.
Yes.
Have more weight, not skew.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have more weight on the data.
Okay. A percentage of original list price received. So this is the property sales price, then taking the average of all the properties that sold in a given month, not accounting for seller paid concession. So basically, what percentage of the list price, original list price, did the seller get, and then not accounting for seller concessions, which seller concessions is, I would say, out of 10 deals, if you're under $1 million, I would say 80% of them are going to have some type of seller concession.
Agreed.
And so, and those seller concessions are typically anywhere from $5 to $20,000, maybe more,
Depending on
right?
the deal, absolutely.
So we are down 0.7%. So this year, sellers are receiving 95.6% of their list price. If you were to add in concessions, what's the number, Cade? 2% of, you can get up to 2% in seller paid concessions on a deal.
On a conventional.
So on a conventional loan, you can get up to 3% if you're putting down less than 10%. So 9.99% or less, you can get up to 3%. If you're putting more than 10%, up to 20-something% down, you can get up to 6%. And then if you're doing more than whatever that next cutoff is, you can get up to 9%. Actually, yeah. So you can.
That's crazy.
Potentially,
That's
you can get up to a lot
of
of money. Yeah, absolutely. But most are within 3.
So that 95% is really probably at least 1, maybe 2% lower.
Yes.
So you're really like 93, 94%.
If you're adding in concessions into this number.
So it's
which you think 95.6%, hell, I'm still getting pretty well 100% of what I'm asking for. But you think about at 5%, the way I'd like to do it by hundreds, right? If 5% of 100,000 is 5,000, so for every $100,000 my house is, I'm not getting $5,000. So at 500,000, I'm $25,000 down.
Yeah,
It starts at a median.
At $1 million, $50,000.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah.
Not enjoyable.
Okay. Housing Affordability Index. I'm going to read the definition, then I'll give you the Ben version of how I interpret it. This index measures the housing affordability for the region. For example, an index of 120 means the median household income is 120% of what is necessary to qualify for the median priced home under prevailing interest rates. A higher number means greater affordability. Basically, we're taking the median household income and the median home price with whatever the prevailing interest rate in. And at 100, that means what you make at the median, you can buy a median house. Anything above that means you have surplus money. Anything below that 100 means you need to make more than the median to afford the house. So as of right now, October 2025, we're at a 75, which means you need 25% more income than the median household income
to afford the median.
to afford the median household. From last year, we're about an even kill, 0% change. So we're still unaffordable from last year to this year. So it's still tough out there.
It's really
You still
tough.
have to dual incomes higher than the median household income to really get into a median priced home.
So we talked about this a little bit before we started. What's like the average mortgage payment that you guys are seeing right now?
When you asked the
closings.
question, I said $3,000.
Yep.
And I was on the lower end, but it's
I'm seeing the same thing. Lower end, I'm seeing some 2,600. You know, new time home buyers are putting very little down, and they're under 500 grand or right at that, all the way up to $4,000 if their credit's not as good and they're not putting at least
I'm like
10%
a first time
down.
home buyer.
Yep.
Yeah, which is crazy because those people-
mortgage payments were
I know those people talk to their parents and they're like, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm buying a house, first house. It's gonna be $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever," and the parents are just like, "What?"
yeah.
Like our payment was like 500.
Oh, yeah.
But it's nuts though. Like working with clients, if I come across a client who is able to get like a $2,400 monthly payment, I'm like, if you can do it, get into it. Like, cause that's like not affordable, but that's so far below what's normal.
So
right
I
now.
had some clients ask me this week. They're buying a really nice house or looking into it, and they're like, we're getting like that sticker shock on the mortgage payment, and this is like a family house that we're probably going to be in. They could be there for 10, 20 years, you know, and they're just they can afford it, but it just doesn't feel right. So what advice do you have for people like that? Because they're like, how is like, I'm just going to throw out a number. Say they're $5,000 to $7,000 a month on the mortgage payment. How is that like
Doable.
okay and doable in this market?
You got to make the money. That's you have to be able to make the money.
The hard thing is when a client or when somebody says they feel a certain way, there's nothing really you can say or do to make it better for them because it's such a subjective thing to them, rather than like, oh, like we make X and this is X and so we have this much surplus. Well, then it's an easy conversation of, is that enough? Like,
So, well, and we talked about like, I think what we've seen is this, we've been in this huge inflation period where everything has just gone up, and we've seen house prices jump up. I mean, the price of a truck nowadays is like what a house used to cost, right? And like a payment on the truck is what a house
mortgage
payment
used
used
to
to be, right? And it's just crazy. And they're like, is it like, do we wait to see if it'll go down? And I'm like, I don't think it's going to go down. Like, this is what happens when the government pumps all this extra money into the economy, deflates the value of the dollar. And so I think it's going to be the same story looking back, where it's like, even when I got into the industry, like my first mortgage payment was like $900 a month, right? And I remember at that time being like, man, this is a lot. $900 a month, that's crazy. And then it went to like $1,500, $1,600, and then $2,500, and then it just keeps going up.
I think the biggest thing is like we had for the longest time, I mean, you go back to the average or the median, whatever it is, you have like from, I mean, after the Great Depression of 08, like 2010 all the way to 2020, like it was a pretty steady climb.
Yeah.
Right. There wasn't like a big shock. There wasn't.
But
So
then
you kind of just got conditioned to it getting
that's true.
a little bit more
Yeah.
expensive over time, very slowly, but everything just got more expensive. So it was
Yeah.
almost like it was, you know, how you get in a hot shower. And if you jump in and it's extremely hot, it's way too much. But if you work your way up to that temperature, then you're good. So I think it's a lot of like, it's that concept. But from 2020 to 2022, you had this massive climb that was so quick.
They dropped rates so low. It really messed up the affordability.
I mean,
big
if you
time.
look at this, and this is just,
But that's about the same time when they pumped all the money into the economy. And so it's like when you start sending every American free money, like everything is going to go up.
Think about this though. So you go from 2010, and the average sale price was $250,000, $220,000, $230,000.
Yeah.
Okay, and you go all the way to 2020, and your average sale price is just under 400,000. So you're almost 200,000 increase. You go from 2020 to 2022, so you're almost 400,000, and you're up to 675,000.
Yeah.
We had the same jump in like a 2-year span
You
as
had-
we did a 10-year span.
Almost an $80,000 bigger jump in 2-year span than you did a 10-year span.
Well, I think we're finally getting to the point, like Kid was saying, with the whole shower thing. People are starting. We got burnt, but now we're getting used to it.
Yeah.
However, you plotted the question. What do we do? Do we wait? Do we do this? I don't think you wait, but I don't think the answer is to jump in and buy a house. I think what you do is you start being proactive, not necessarily hurry and go get a loan, buy a house, get into the real estate market. Yes, we as agents, yeah, I love it. Let's buy houses and make us money. But I think what you should do is you should start start with your lender, get rid of the sticker shell shock before you start looking at houses, see what you can afford. And 2, start actually saving money, because the only way to make these payments more affordable is to have more money down.
Yeah.
Because I hate to break it, the prices aren't going to go down. And if they do, it'll be very minor. So
And that's,
start prepping, start saving, start changing your lifestyle before you buy a house. Don't jump into the shower like Kate said when it's hot. Ease into it. Start saving those payments. Stop, get rid of your car payments. Pay those off or pay them down, or, start living within your means or below your means before you buy a house, so you can ease into that shower and you're not getting burnt.
Because there is an argument, and I've heard a lot of people say it, where it's cheaper to rent right now. And it
is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's
It
definitely
is.
cheaper to rent, but it's also
there's so much unknown there, and that's what would freak me out about renting. Like, I could go rent. I mean, honestly, though, we were renting a 3-bedroom apartment from the time we sold our previous home to our new home was being built.
Mm-hmm.
We were still paying $2,500 for a 3-bedroom apartment. We're up on the 3rd level. Like, it was a nice little apartment, but we have a $3,800 mortgage, but we also have $1,300 in rent coming in every month. So, like, our mortgage is $2,500. That's the same payment as the apartment we had.
But do you have to ask anyone if you want to repaint your living room?
No, but that's what I'm saying though, is the how unstable renting can be. It's not always that way. You can rent and you can be in that place for years and years and years, and rent never changes, and you're great.
It can be like that. And rents have kind of stabilized, but there was a time in 2020 when rents were jumping up like crazy, and the whole like renter scene was like, this is nuts. I got to get out of here. And they had less control. And then they missed out on that ride of like the appreciation. But I like our place, I feel like I could for sure rent a house, like my same house in Eden, cheaper than what my mortgage payment is right now.
But then you also have to deal with the fact that there's so many pros and cons to both, right? If you're renting, you don't got to deal with any of the maintenance, right? That's all taken care of. But once your lease is up, what are you doing?
Right.
Are you staying? Are you going? Is your payment the same? Is it going up? Like you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. And at some point in time, if you wanted to, if a buyer came by, just like your house in Morgan, great offer came by. Hey, yeah, I'm selling it.
Yep. So I think it makes more sense now than it has ever in the past. I think renting should be cheaper than buying a house, because it's you don't get the freedoms
or the investment.
If rent, like, don't get me wrong, it was great when that was inverted and it was cheaper to own a house and that kind of stuff.
To rent, and
like, there's always the caveats and different things, but at the end of the day, it should be cheaper to live in someone else's house and not have the freedoms and stuff that you have
than to
own your own house, own your own property. That makes sense to me.
You get tax write-offs as the owner. You get
Lots
principal
of
buy
benefits.
down. I mean, there's a lot of things.
And it's not. And I'm not saying that renting is better or buying a house is better, but I think it definitely that's how it should be, whether we like it or not. Yeah, I would love to own a house being cheaper than renting, but
it should be that way.
That makes, in the grand scheme of things, that makes sense. Rent should be cheaper than owning. Otherwise, why the hell would you rent?
Yeah.
right?
There's
Why
such
would there even be need for a rent
yeah.
other than to take advantage of someone that couldn't get
Qualify.
the loan? Yeah, qualifying.
It's going to be interesting how the next like couple years play out because with this housing affordability, you have a lot of people like when you bought your house, you got a killer rate and a pretty good price. And like for like somebody to try and pry you out of that and you have to go buy another house, pay a lot more money. Yeah, you have a lot of equity, but like it's the rate and the payment that almost is keeping people like stuck.
Well,
And it's super hard to like want to move. And so you got this whole market that's kind of like tied up right now. So
And I think that goes back to that same thing. Our wants, when do our wants push us out of our comfort?
and
when do your wants become your needs?
well,
Yeah.
and,
I
and
think
there is that, but or when does the market get to a point where, when does the market get to a point where it incentivizes enough people that have been sitting on the fence and like kind of stuck with those low rates to where they're like, hey, I'm out. Like, is that 5% rates or is that 4% rates or like what does it look like? Because you have all these sellers with like this massive equity because everybody refinanced.
They're golden handcuffed.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's obviously, I think that number is going to be so individualized on what rate makes sense. But
Here's what I don't think that the market is going to be what gets them out. Like Cade said, I think it's going to be wants and needs to get them
but
out.
I think there is a certain point within the market where you hit that scale where like it's like enough
starts to teeter
that
totter.
it's like, and then my fear is like then you have a flood of listings and people being like transacting.
Do you know we kind of talked about this last time, and Ben made a good point that if they treat the rates
Respectfully,
like if they don't just go, hey, overnight we're dropping them down to 5%, 4%, but if they just bring them down slowly, I think that flood that you're talking about is going to happen gradually.
Hopefully.
And so you won't see like this massive flood of buyers.
Because the last thing we need is like
and
a flood and then prices just skyrocketing and it's like inverting. It's like, okay, well now your payment's
Same
cheaper,
problem.
but your price is crazy high.
Yeah.
See, and I don't think, and I personally have no fear of that because, like I said, and I'm going to kind of stick to my gun on it. I don't think the market, unless we have a war, something extreme drastic to change it, I don't think the market can change again drastic enough to cause people to instantly jump out. I think even if it dropped to 5, all these people that are stuck in it, they're still in the 2s and 3s. The only thing that is going to drive people to move is necessity and their desires getting strong enough, because there's almost zero possibility for the market to drop low enough to make a financial move, right?
Yeah.
There specific deals can come along and stuff like that, but the overall market conditions aren't going to make it possible for someone to get out of the home they're in with their equity and have a better monthly payment.
Right.
On a nicer home.
And with a nicer home.
Yeah.
That is a thing of the past
unless they're downsizing. That's like the
unless they're downsizing. But that goes to, that's not marketing, where that's just that your individual need
Your
and
wants and
wants.
needs.
When there was a time where it was like, holy crap, like the rates are so good, it's almost stupid enough for me to not go out and get this cheap money.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
I don't know if there is a point that is there but
I think the market can change and swing for the next 5-10 years.
But I do think that there might be a point where it's like it's close enough that we don't really need a bigger home, but our income's gone up over the last 7-8 years. Like, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think, but again, you're kind of getting into your wants and needs more than you are the market.
Time will do that. If we have this conversation in that 7 years, then I think there's a point in the market will, because at that point we'll have more saturation of people in these higher interest rates, where it makes a financial sense to move because they were locked in at 7s and now they can get 5s.
Or they're paid off in general.
It's just been surprising, like watching what happened in 2020. Like I never guessed that would have happened, and it was crazy. I remember looking at updates, and it was like, oh wow, we went up 20% year over year, like on median and average sales prices. Like it was wild how crazy things shot up.
All right, We are on inventory of homes for sale. So the number of properties available for sale in active status at the end of a given month. So we're still talking about October. So from October 2024, we were at 13,841. We are up 15% from that number to 15,934. So we have more inventory. It looks like we are actually down a little bit from maybe around the summer, which is pretty normal.
And then that flows into month supply of inventory. And this is the inventory of homes for sale at the end of a given month divided by the average monthly pending sales of the last 12 months. So last year we were at 4 months supply. We're up 12.5% at 4.5 months supply of inventory. So we look at this and we say, hey, anything under 6 months supply is a seller's market, and anything over 6 months supply is a buyer's market. However, if you look at certain areas, like there are certain areas that definitely are a buyer's market versus a seller's market. But I would say
micro markets.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say overall for the state of Utah, we're still in what would be called or considered a seller's market, where sellers are still getting mostly what they want, basically. But it's a pretty fair market, I would say. Buyers are able to get some closing costs, negotiate a little bit. They're able to pick and choose what they want. Like, you can actually get some pretty good deals as a buyer right now.
Is it possible to say it's nobody's market? Like,
Maybe.
Can I say that? Like, is that
Well,
because I really don't feel
think-
like it's like I have both sides. I have sellers who are
Did amazing.
dang struggling to get that property to move, and then I also have sellers that we list it and it's gone within days. But I also have buyers who we make an offer on a home and we can't get anything because there's multiple offers, or I have buyers where there's no offers and we're getting.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's nobody's market.
Yeah, I think that's a more fair than buyer seller. I think it's lower month supply is a seller's, higher month supply is a buyer's, and in the middle we call it a fair.
Yeah.
And at a fair market, there's negotiation and
Like you get some of both sides. Like
everyone bleeds a little bit in a fair market, right?
Yeah.
I tell people whoever wants it the least in this market right now wins.
I think in a fair market too, the value of an agent goes way up.
Oh, for sure.
In a fair market, negotiation, information, education weighs heavily on whether you're going to get more or pay more.
Well, that, and I mean, I have a couple stories. I won't go into too many details, but not to toot my own horn or nothing here, but
toot toot. That's
but I do think that on the listing side, when you have a lot of sellers are still wanting to push that price when they list, and sometimes that's hard to talk them off that. But sometimes we as agents were wrong on what we think the property can sell for.
I'm not.
So you list at what they're wanting to go for, and you get an offer really dang close to it or at it. But then the next challenge becomes the appraisal. And so, like you said, having a good agent, somebody who can go in and show the appraiser the value of the property, like that's very important. So there's more than just, there's more than just talking with an agent and saying this is the first one I've spoken with.
There's a lot of strategy right now, both on the sell and the buy side, that it is. I enjoy this market. Like, I think both parties have more. You can get more creative in this market.
Yeah, you're not buyer or seller market. One side is always under the gun, high pressure.
Yeah.
And even, everything moves so much faster and you have to make split. In this market, you can really
Take
your time,
think
negotiate.
about it. Yeah, absolutely.
You can let offers sink and settle and sit, and, you can go back and forth, or you can walk away. And a lot of times I've seen a lot of people walk away from a home
And then come back.
and come back to it
Yeah.
a week to 6 weeks later and be
Yeah.
like, all right, we
Yeah.
tried,
Yeah.
So
a few quick facts I want to go over on the housing supply overview, and this is interesting. So the price range with the strongest sales price, comparing October of last year to October of this year, is the $1.5 million price range and above. It went up, like there was 23.7% more closings in that price range compared to that of last year. And I think that speaks to why our average sales price
That's a good
climbed so
point.
much
That's a good point.
is because you have 23% more sales above 1.5 million.
Why is that? Why do you suppose that? We had a fight earlier.
We
Yeah.
talked about this.
Well, I think,
I think me and Ben are on the same page.
I think the higher end homes just cost a lot more to build right now. So the replacement cost to get into a luxury home is a lot more. But I don't fully understand why there's a lot more transactions happening right there, because the economy's down, stock market's down, but it seems like that luxury buyer, their pocketbooks, they're just writing checks still, which is kind of crazy.
And Cade and I's opinion on it is when you start cresting that $1.5 million price range, you're not as affected by the swings in the economy. It affects you, but it doesn't freeze you. Like everything, it always affects everybody. But in a bad economy is when a lot of people actually make more money
Yeah.
because they wrote it out. And I think in that price range, you're seeing those people that know how to ride and
That's
work
true.
the economy.
Yeah, if you have cash and you don't have to get a loan.
well, and I just, yeah. Like,
Or even
I
if
think,
you do, because you can get money a little easier sometimes when the economy's stagnant. Even money guys are part of the economy. They're trying to give their money out and get it working.
Mm-hmm.
So
but we talked about, prices really haven't gone up drastically over the last 3 years now. Realistically, they've been pretty stagnant, small growth, but interest rates are going up. But they're not affecting those cash buyers. And I feel like a lot of those buyers are in that price range and above are still cash buyers. And so they're seeing the homes kind of sit at that same price, but rates aren't affecting them as much. Or if rates go up, I don't know, a little bit, a couple $100, $1,000 a month isn't going to affect them like it does your regular buyer.
So the next quick fact that was interesting. So strongest sales by bedroom count was 4 bedrooms or more, 8.3% increase in closings. So homes with 4+ bedrooms.
So I just thought
sold
about this.
better.
Why do you think that is? Because people are having less kids,
I think people want more space.
more bedrooms for different things other than like a bedroom,
Yeah, probably.
workout room or an office or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 2 couples that work from home, they
Sure,
want
that's a
2
good point.
office spaces, 4 bedrooms. It seems like people just want more space and square footage. I don't know.
and I don't put too much weight on this fun fact because I think what you're seeing is a lot more builders are also finishing basements.
That could
And
be
so
it
that
too.
just kind of skews. And builders right now are the ones that are really moving because they can get the land and that they can adjust their prices a lot more drastic.
So how about this fact though? Strongest sales by property type was single family, an increase of 9.8%.
I think that's
That
that's
actually
just,
surprises me a little bit.
seeing that doesn't surprise me either because there's more people.
But they're building so many
I think that's the reason.
multifamily.
I think that's the reason that
People are trying or
Well, the sales are stronger in the single family because there's so many townhomes out there.
so
I'm watching
is this a
townhome prices plummet
plus 0.98% in the number
In
of
the
townhomes
closed.
and it's closed.
or in the number of single family homes? So there's 9.8% more single family homes that are closing than multifamily type units, townhomes, condos.
And I think a lot of townhomes type condos and stuff are not selling as much
And
anymore.
maybe there's just not nearly as many because there's
So-
a bunch of more new construction, but there's still a ton of single family existing. That's probably why. I bet that's why.
Well, there was only a 4% increase in the townhouse condo, in as far as units sold. There was 11,000 in October of 2025, and single family homes went up 9.8%. So
and
to 31,000.
31,000.
Yeah, so there's still way more single family
homes.
closing, but seems like I think people are always going to want more space,
More land,
more
a yard.
more
privacy.
bedrooms. Even though people are having less kids, I think that just
Well,
having some more space.
Kind of just
And
still a part of the
is
American
in-
dream a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your
So, like-
demographic in Utah is single family living, where you start to get into different states and stuff like California or the
York.
Bay. Yeah, that you're going to have more apartments and condos
Yeah.
sell.
That'd
Where
be
in
interesting.
Utah,
Yeah. That'd be an interesting demographic to
And
look
I
at.
think population demographic has a lot to do with that, the density in which the cities. So I'm sure if you looked at Salt Lake, these numbers might be a little more skewed because they're a lot more dense.
There would be. I
So-
mean, you'd have a ton of townhomes, condos, Salt Lake area.
Sure.
So, well, any last minute words of wisdom you guys want to leave for the audience?
The only thing I really want to leave here is I'm right and Kate's wrong about the median and average. So take that to the bank.
I don't think we had like a big disagreement there. I don't think we really came
Because
to
I
a
was
good
right. You
conclusion.
were wrong. There was no disagreement. It was just that I was right. I was right. That's it.
You know what? We'll do a full podcast on median and average.
That might be a good one.
Let us take some time to really dig into it a little bit, but we'll do a podcast on it,
Yeah, that would be
and then
good.
we'll see who's right and wrong.
That's exactly someone who would lost.
Because there was no.
What's your guys'
Everything.
thoughts as we go into next year with what do you think the market will be doing come June?
So we met with a lender today, and his explanation of it was impressive. I
Yeah.
thought, because before I met with him today, I just said that I think you're gonna come into spring, so the market's gonna heat up just in general.
Yeah.
No matter what the government's doing or whatever, like it's gonna heat up just in general from January to May. Like it's gonna get hotter.
Yeah.
But as far as interest rates go, I had thought that rates, and not that he said anything different necessarily, but I had thought that rates would be trending down, kind of the way they have been over the last 3 months or so. But I like the way he interpreted it and the way he explained it, how it's not so much about the rates and what the rates have been doing, but it's more about our economy here and how that affects rates more than the 10-year bond,
Yeah.
which was interesting.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think we're going to be right where we're at. I think rates might soften a little bit. I think it's still going to be expensive for everybody. I don't think for some reason people aren't going to be making more money in a couple months. I don't think houses are going to skyrocket. I think we're going to be very, very fair market, nice, steady going. We're kind of coming out of that dead period that we have been in the last couple months. The ice is breaking off, and I think we're going to continue into that into mid-spring.
Do you think 26 will be a better year than 25 as far as number of properties sold and total volume sold?
Yes, only because the shower is getting more tolerable,
People
right?
are getting more used to the payments and
the shock and awe is going away. People are going okay, and I think we're still getting more pressure in Utah, and people are still moving here. They just announced another
you see that?
a nuclear
I saw
plant
that.
out in Brigham. Like Utah is expanding as fast as we can without ripping our seams.
yeah,
And I
agree
think
with
that we only have one way to go is up, which good or bad, but it is.
I agree.
I think we're going to see a uptick as we go into next year. Because if you look at it, like even a year ago, like the interest rates were in the mid sevens, low sevens. Like we're into the low sixes right now. That's already down 1%. If we go down much lower, I think it'll be the right ingredients for things to start picking up. So
Yeah.
I'm optimistic as we head into next year. So anyways, well, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a good Christmas or I guess Thanksgiving. and
Yeah,
Christmas.
see,
Yeah,
he's
I'm,
messed
getting,
up too.
I'm getting it all messed up. All right, guys, thank you for watching. And if you guys have any questions, reach out to us. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas.